Okay, welcome to Handsonlabs in PHP and MariaDB. This tutorial is going to be based on PHP, and the outline that I've adapted for this tutorial is actually a template that has been used over the years to teach novice programmers from undergraduate to postgraduate students, and has successfully taken them from novice level to at least a sub-advanced, or let's say call it intermediate level. Now the PHP course outline was successfully taken for 6 weeks over the past year, 6 weekend actually, not the weeks, 6 weekend. And firstly, a general introduction is done on software applications, natives and web applications. Secondly, setting up your environment, how to install Xampp, other web servers like Xitami, Mamp and Mamp. Then of course, we'll be talking about and treating in detail practice integrated development environment, usually nicknamed IDEs. We're touching Adobe Dreamweaver and other IDEs such as Eclipse, Notepad, and other available compilers that you can use to write PHP and MySQL. Then, of course, we'll be talking about dealing with defining a web application, local site, and linking it up to a web server, Xampp in this case. Thirdly, we'll be going into PHP MySQL, HTML syntax, the PHP tags, the strings, the variables, the constants, the output statements, the delimiters, the PHP info function, the general knowledge of embedding PHP in HTML, as well as tables and forms. Next, we'll be looking at PHP program structures, superglobal arrays, namely get and the post variables, general arrays, associative arrays, iterations like while, switch, for, do, selection, the use of conditionals such as if, else if, and of course the application of dates. Furthermore, we'll be looking at MySQL database administration, such as creating databases, creating tables, connecting from PHP codes, using the insert, select, update, delete queries, respectively. Yes, of course. Finally, we'll be looking at the sub-advanced or intermediate PHP. Over here, we'll be looking at functions, methods, objects and classes, the extensions and cookies, CSS3 coding, validation, jQuery, Ajax, JSON, AngularJS, Node.js, page restrictions using sessions, login, logout pages, PHP utilities, CodeIgniter, PS, Zen framework, Laravel, etc. PHP applications, yes, the application of PHP in live industrial applications such as WordPress, Joomla, CubeCart, forums, Facebook, and Twitter. Then, yeah, I'll have a bonus there on how you can be productive and generate revenue from this knowledge investment. Okay, so let's get started. Now, this outline usually, for the record, I actually finish steps one and two, or modules one and two, in a single day. On a single day, let's say the first day of the weekend, I start teaching this course. So I would also want you to follow this course very carefully, and I also suggest that you should have a biro and pen so you can take down notes. It's very important. It's helped me anyway as a programmer over the years, and I think anybody who is serious about learning programming, not just PHP MySQL. We're talking of higher programming languages like Python and Java, and there's so much that is out there in the world of software. You should learn to write. So let's get started. Now, firstly, let's look at this general introduction to software applications and natives, web apps as well. Now, these are important theoretical definitions that should be grasped, well noted. First, we have software applications. The best way to describe software applications is seeing them as compiled computer programs that execute certain sequence of electronic instructions towards completing specific tasks. Generally, they are divided into two major categories, namely the native applications. Now, these native applications, they are docile, they are less interactive, they are bound to local usage and application. Examples are Notepad, WordPad, system folders, BIOS, etc. Any software that runs exclusively on a local machine can be classified as a native software application. Next, let's talk about the web application. This web application is best described as an application that depends on the internet connectivity for say, usage application for completion of tasks. If you want to complete any task, it will definitely require you to be connected to the internet. Examples are Skype, Google Talk, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, etc. They cannot just work without the internet. That's a web application for you. Now let's go to the hybrid. The hybrid applications combines the functionality of the native and the web applications, such that they are both offline and online, featured. So you can actually use the offline feature when you're not connected to the internet, and you can use the online feature when you're connected to the internet. Okay, I'll still be talking more about these things in the future videos that Hands-On Software Academy is going to be producing over the coming months. So stay in touch. Okay, let's start with Model 2. Now, Model 2 focuses on setting up your environment, and before we actually go into the computer and see what we can do with that, we also need to take note of these points. Web servers. A web server is a software application that serves scripts to a client browser. Now, the simplest way to describe this is that it handles underlying technology of a retrieval system from databases to and from a client browser. That means it goes back and forth. The client receives the information from the server, and the server receives the information from the client, vice versa. Now, several open source servers such as Xampp, Xitami Wamp Mamp, Apache Webservers, in perspective, process what we call server-side includes SSIs. Now, such SSIs are examples like Java server pages, JSP, which a lot of us might have seen on the web, and of course, hypertext preprocessor PHP. There are others like ASP.NET technologies that belongs to Microsoft. These actually perform tasks, and they also exist on the internet for download at no cost, as we will see shortly. Now, there are also closed source types such as Microsoft Internet Information Services, which also is a web server in its own capacity. It focuses on C# and the .NET framework. So now the next important thing that you also need to do is that, or know, is that these uh, web servers come along with their integrated environments as well. Like for Microsoft goes around with their Visual Studio, which today has been so much elaborated to cloud computing, having Azure integration and so many things, so many models. Even Android, you can develop Android programs within that IDE. Now, or you should note that if you want to get hands-on coding, building web or mobile applications, you need to get acquainted to some of these IDEs, such as Dreamweaver, Notepad, Eclipse, Studio, because you discover that developing web applications with any of these IDEs can actually prove to be immensely helpful and timely, as well as very resourceful indeed from experience. Okay, so before we move on, finally into the real-time system, these are the things we are going to learn. We're going to be looking at Dreamweaver environment as an IDE. We'll also be looking at Eclipse and Notepad. Then, of course, I'll be talking and introducing MariaDB SQL and Xampp. Xampp is going to be our main reference web server. Then, of course, we should also expect live demonstration of Linux platforms and Windows platforms. Okay, in this video, I want to just quickly go through Xampp installation under the Linux operating system. Now, this is Ubuntu 19.0.4, and I'm right in the ApacheFriends.org, the official web URL for downloading web servers, Xampp web server. The Xampp web server begins with the Windows version, then you have the Linux version. Here we have 7.3.7, and this about this time, this is about the latest version. So we quickly click on the download, and then it downloads. Once the download is complete, you go to the download folder and you open this in the terminal. Once you open in terminal, it comes up, you're in the download directory. The next thing to do is to check the directory. You can just type ls, or you can type dir like you have in your Windows. Ls is more common for Linux environment. So what we want to do right now is I want to install Xampp and ensure it is running as our web server, so we can write PHP scripts. So how do we do that? I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing on the screen. Sudo is a general word in keyword used in Linux environments for administrative privilege access. So we write sudo //Xampp, or rather than writing that, all we have to do is just copy this file name here, run files. You know, if you're in Windows, you'll be seeing exe, but in the Linux environment you see run. So once you type this out, you press the return key and you wait for the installation dialog to come out. Okay, so the setup is up. You click on next. Now make sure these two things are checked: the Xampp core files and the Xampp developer files. So you click on next. Now look at it here, it's telling us Xampp is going to be installed to opt lamp. So whenever we want to call up this web server, we can actually call it up with respect to this directory. So you click on next. Now here you have this Xitami advertisement. You may just ignore this, just uncheck this, so you'll be more focused on what we're doing for now. Otherwise you could click it, you know, but much later we'll be coming back to these aspects. So you click next. Now setup is ready, installing on your computer. So you click on next and we wait for it to install. It should take just about some time to install, and once it's installed, we'll go to the next stage. Okay, so with the completion of the installation, we want to launch Xampp, of course. Make sure this is checked. Then you click finish. As soon as we click finish, we're going to see another dialog. Yes, and this is it. You have the welcome tab, you have the manage servers, and you have the application log. Now this is our most frequented place. This should be the most frequented place. You have MySQL database, you have ProFTTP, and then you have Apache Web Server. Now you can actually start all, or you can stop all, or you can restart all, depending on your context. So right now let's just start all and ensure that everything is working from this interface. Now as it starts, each of them starts and changes from starting to running. Okay, so we will have a three green light now, so we can go into the browser and actually check online to see if we can access the local host. This local host is the local computer that will be developing the web application. Okay, here we are. We have Xampp, Apache, MariaDB, PHP plus Perl. So, and this is the version. This is the version of the Xampp we just installed. Okay. The next important thing you want to check up here is the phpinfo. This stores the variable that php_ini. php_ini. I'll be talking about php_ini very soon. This php_ini stores the configuration of PHP installed on the system. Now you should also note that PHP is powered by Xampp. Xampp is a body that administers the operations of the software itself, PHP, as a script. So then the other thing you might want to check here is the phpMyAdmin that stores the SQL. Yes, this is where our SQL will be built from. We want to build things and structure interfaces that will be querying the databases like I described earlier on. This is where it all happens. Okay, so after we have tested on the browser and also seen how to start the Xampp, now the next thing I would want to demonstrate here is actually starting up the Xampp from the terminal. We are still in the Linux environment, so assuming you wanted to start the Xampp server from the terminal, from the Linux terminal, this is the way to go about it. Pay close attention and follow the steps. This is very the first thing you want to do is just change directory to where Xampp is actually installed. LAMPP as LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. That's what that stands for. So we just click the enter. You see that now the directory changes to OPT LAMP. Like I said, LAMP is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and PHP. Yes, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. You shouldn't forget that. Just make sure it's part of you. Now that we're in this directory, we want to check the contents of the directory. Okay, here we are, ls. Like what I told you, ls is just like dir on Windows version. Now look at what is there. We have Apache bin, CGI bin. We have etc htdocs, which is also very important. That's the main place where the application will be developed and stored. htdocs. Okay, you should take note of that. Then you have include info, kill process, lamp, libexec, licenses, logs, MySQL peer, PHP, phpMyAdmin, and a lot of people. Where we are actually concerned with now is this manager. this particular manager. Now you can actually launch the manager directly from the terminal. And this is how you do that. You say sudo since we've copied that, you can actually copy this to save time and then paste, run. Of course, you need to authenticate and ensure that you have the right access. You are in the privileged access mode. Okay, so this is it. This is the interface. Now what we've just done is that we launched the manager straight up from the terminal. So you can check and see what is running and what is not, just like we did the other time after we finished the installation. Okay, just to ensure that this is still running. Now the next thing is we want to create some kind of file. Okay, a file that will run our web or test a script, a simple script in PHP. Okay, let's just clear this up and then we move to the next stage. Now cd, just change directory to opt, okay, then lamp, then htdocs. Okay, yeah, we are there. Okay, now you check the directory ls. This shows us everything that we have on script. So what we'll do right now is that we want to test a script, test a simple script and see how this outputs out in a browser. And the way to do this is just you write this code, sudo gedit. It's supposed to be 1e, gedit. Then let's call this first .php. Okay, okay, so we are there now. It has given us a script, and let's try and run a simple script in PHP. Okay, so let's save. We've written this, and we can also say echo this is my first PHP script. Okay, after we're done with the editing, we save. Okay, we save this and then we possibly close. Now let's go to the browser and see how we can run this on the script or on the browser. This is how to do that. You go to localhost just like we went the other time, then you type first .php. I think there's an error there, so I need to correct that script. Okay, phpinfo, save, go back to the script. Okay, so it runs now. Actually, there was an error in the first script. The script that was supposed to generate this was having a wrong. It was not supposed to have an underscore. It was just supposed to have PHP info. We want to call out the script. That same script we ran during um, the interface when we're testing the local host after installation. So you should expect to always learn how to debug scripts, because errors are bound in software, but the earlier you catch those errors, the better. Now look at what it has given us. It's giving us two major things here. The first line here is hi, this is my first PHP script. Then the second one is PHP version, which we saw earlier from the script, from the preset script. But the difference now is that this is giving us from a script we wrote ourselves. Yes, it's giving us this from the script. This very script here, the script that says echo hi. Now echo in PHP is, you should just know that it's for outputs, for bringing out outputs into the browser. And we are outputting two things here. The first one is hi, this is my first PHP script. Then the second one is just saying echo PHP info. And please take note of these tags. These are the functional tags for PHP. It's very important. The moment you have these there, then you can do a whole lot of things. Okay, so the next aspect I want to focus on is the Dreamweaver. The Dreamweaver environment. Um, One of the most important IDEs we have today at our disposal is Adobe Dreamweaver. But the downside to it is that Dreamweaver is not free. It's a subscription-based software, so definitely you have to pay up something to have it as a web developer. If you're in any part of the world, you might just as well use Eclipse or Notepad. But for those that can afford the software, you know, this it's a very good software. Actually, I would actually recommend it if you know you can afford to buy it and use it as your major integrated development environment. All you have to do is go to their website, you register, you sign up with your email and your social login identity. Then you are directed to the download where you are given a trial, maybe 7 days or so, you know, before you are requested to pay for the subscription. Okay, that is that for uh, Adobe Dreamweaver. It's very good actually, and it's a very solid, so to speak, it's a very solid software for use. Now, I want to put you through creating a simple web application with Adobe Dreamweaver, and I need you to pay very close attention. It has a left pane and it also has a right pane. Okay, now if you look at this area, the right pane, you see you have files. After the first installation, you discover that you have a default lineage of your file directory or your system directory. You have desktop, computer network, desktop items, etc. Now you also have this tab here. This one is just for the libraries. Then this one is for inserting certain resources or assets that can be used for web production. Then another very important thing is the CSS designer. Adobe has an intuitive CSS designer that makes web design very exciting. Okay, it's I will really give it 5 stars as far as its intuition and the design is concerned. Okay, but the most important place that you will be interacting with is the files, the file tab. That file tab, when you install for the first time, it enlists these things you're seeing here. But after the creation of the web application, it's going to populate it with the web application in respect, in context. Okay, now let's move on to this area, the edit. Under the edit menu, go to preferences. Now the preferences has a lot of options, but one of the most important that I really love in the list of the preferences is the interface. Now if you click on this interface, you have various themes. If you click on this one is the you have various themes you can choose from, and as you click it, you see its effect on the interface for the compiler, this specific IDE we're talking about here, Adobe Dreamweaver. Okay, now you have a whole lot too. You have the this light. This is the light one. You've seen the two dark ones, how they feel. Then look at this one again. The feel of this is much more lighter than the other three. Okay, but for me, I prefer this. This is cool. It gives a kind of cool, not too picky color. All right, so you don't really need to click apply. Once you click it or you select the color theme, it immediately reflects at the background. Okay, so now let's go to the main thing we are trying to understand, the Dreamweaver integrated development environment. It's very exciting. Now if you want to create a web application, you should take note of this. You can do this in several ways. You can say site, new site. It brings up this dialog. Now this dialog has site name, which you fill. It has the location, which you also fill. Then it has servers, which you have to define the local and the testing remote. You know, then of course CSS preprocessors. You also need to fill that optionally. Then the advanced settings, you also have this. Now, another way to get in here, apart from this site, new site, is manage sites. Still under the site menu, the two options are under the site menu. Take note of that. Now, in this dialog, you have manage sites. So, if you want to create a new site, you can just click this, and it brings you up to the same place where we started initially. Okay. Now, you can use this panel, this manage site panel, to actually manage all your web applications. You know, if you have multiple web applications you're designing or you're administering, you can just, as soon as you create them, they'll be listed here, so you can import, you can create a new one, you can delete. You know, these little minute looking menus here. This one is for deletion, this is for editing, this is for duplicating, this one is for exporting. So they all have their various functions, and of course I think they have a quite okay. The help menu is not exactly here, but I think if you click that and it works, it could just take you online for a help search. Okay, so let's save ourselves and go straight to what we want to do now. We want to create a new site, and let's pick this and call this first as FIRST first. Now, since you've not declared any kind of web application before, this is the default link you see here: users, user, documents, and then the unnamed site. So you can't leave it like this. You definitely have to select this folder looking icon. Then you will now navigate to the place, which of course should be the Xampp. It should be the Xamp's directory, the Xampp, no other place, the htdocs there. Yes. Okay. We've already created first from the previous sections that we had. So we could as well use this, or just for the sake of reinforcement, let's create a new folder. Okay. We create a new folder and I'll call it Dreamweaver. Yes, Dreamweaver. Okay, so that is it. So we select the folder. Select the folder right there. Okay, so this is it. So you select folder. As soon as you select folder, you observe that the local site folder changes its directory from the unnamed site. Now that's the first step. The second step is the servers. You want to add a server to this IDE. This is the way to do it. You simply bring your mouse to this plus icon here. You click that. Okay, this comes up. Now it has two options here. You have the basic, then you have the advanced. So we have to fill each of these tabs. The first one is the basic. So now the option is giving us here is server name. If you're going to put a server name, this has to be localhost. Okay, that's it. The server name is localhost because we are dealing with the local production now. It's not yet time to go to the remote production. You go from the local to the remote. Right now, the second option is connect using what? A list of options here. We have FTP, we have SFTP, we have FTP over SSL, TLS, implicit encryption. Then we have FTP over SSL / TLS, explicit encryption as well. Okay, it seems as if one is implicit, the other one is explicit. Right. Now it also has local network, then it has WebDAV, then it has RDS. What we are concerned with is the local network, so we have to select this. Okay, now the server folder, you recall that we made a link in the initial site. So in this server folder, we have to relink to that same server folder, the one we created in the htdoc. So you click the browse. Okay, it's still navigating within that region. As you can see, this is Xampp htdoc Dreamweaver. So this is what we select. We select this because this is the server folder. It's just the same folder we created initially here. Now for the web URL, The web URL, you have to, this is how you fill the web URL. Localhost /Dreamweaver. Okay, yes, that's what you put there. Then you go to the advanced tab. In the advanced tab, you have a list of options as well that you need to attend to. You see here, maintain synchronization information, automatically add upload files to server on save, enable file checkouts. Then you also have checkout name, email address, you have testing server, and then the server model. Now let's start from the top to down to bottom. Okay, you already have this checked. You leave this checked. You need to check this. Automatically upload files to server on save. Yes, that means the ones which, as soon as you click Ctrl S, it will save to the web server. That's what it means. Now, maintain synchronization information means that the files will be synchronized, will be balanced back and forth. Okay, so now the checkout name and email is optional, but the most important thing you also have to check here is the server model. You have several server models. You have ASP JavaScript, you have ASP VB script, you have ASP.NET C#, you have ASP.NET VB, you have Cold Fusion, you have JSP, you have PHP MySQL. So this is what we're after, the PHP MySQL. Okay, so that is it. And after these options have been filled, both in the advanced and the basic, then you can click save. Right, as soon as you click save, you see something takes place here now, and you have this list of dialogues. Over here, you will select the server that will host your pages on the web. The settings for this dialog box come from your internet service provider or your web administrator. So you are the web administrator now, and you need to determine if this is a testing server or not. Since we've chosen our name or our local host as the main server we're dealing with, and the address is also here, then the remote also is here, then the testing, you need to check this as well. Yes, because we're not dealing with the remote, we are dealing with the testing server. This is a testing server. Okay, so the next thing now is the CSS processors. We might not really have any business with this for now, but the next important part is the advanced, which is the local info. Okay, we're not going to touch all these ones: the cloaking, the design notes, the file view columns, the contribute, the templates, jQuery, web fonts, animation assets. No, you don't need that for now. All you need is just indicate the default images folder here by clicking this folder button. Then within this Dreamweaver, the same Dreamweaver we've created initially, create a new folder and call it images or image folder. Select it as the primary image folder for the local site. Okay, so then links has to be related to your site root, not the document. So you unselect this and make sure the site root is selected. The rest remains the same in its default value. Same thing, meaning it must correspond. There has to be correspondence. Anyway, it's when we actually test it on the browser that we'll be able to know if what we have done is correct, or we may need to come back here and then re-correct or replace one or two things. So for now, since we've set the sites, I'll go over that again. The sites, we made sure that we gave it a site name, local site folder. Okay, then we went to the servers. We of course created by clicking a plus. If you wanted to edit now, we'll just click edit existing, so it's going to bring up what we filled in before. We have the basic, we filled in the basic, then of course we filled in the advanced. Okay, so that is in place. And we also made sure that the testing server is chosen. Then finally, and then of course we saved. And ensure that the image is there. Now, because I clicked saved, we just clicked saved, it has repopulated the right hand pane with the site, website or web application. Let's put it that way. Now, there's nothing in this file. There's nothing. We just have the site folder in Xampp htdocs, and we also have the images which we created. There's no file there. So, in order to create a PHP file, you come to this menu, the file menu. You click on New. Right? When you click on New, it's going to bring up a list of options that we have to select and know whether we're trying to develop a web application that is ASP compliant or GSP compliant or just PHP. The dialog that is going to come out now will indicate that and will give us the right direction. So let's wait now and see what it brings up. Okay, yes, it's up. Now we have new document, and then we have starter templates. We have basic layout, bootstrap, email, this, that. Okay, then we have the site templates. Now we're going to stick to the new documents, and here on the document types we have HTML, CSS, LESS, SCSS, SAS, JavaScript, JSON, PHP, XML, SVG, HTML template, PHP template. Okay, so we're just going to choose, and of course here we have Bootstrap. Bootstrap is actually like a universal code for that you can derive your own from. We'll be talking more about Bootstrap later, much later when we go to the advanced PHP MySQL now. But for now, what we're going to choose now is we're just going to choose the PHP documents. All right, and ensure that HTML5 is checked. Yes, HTML5, as at the time of this writing. We have other options there, but then let's just focus on HTML5 for now. Okay, so now once we have our options set in this dialog, the next important thing that we would have to do is come to the create button. Bring the mouse to the create button and create the PHP page. Let's just give it a while now, and then we're going to see the PHP page come up on the right pane of Adobe Dreamweaver. Now, some of you might be complicated. Actually, most students that I've taught PHP MySQL over the years, undergraduates, postgraduates, and the likes, they always find it difficult to grasp this aspect, and several other students prefer Notepad, or they prefer Eclipse, or just the ordinary Notepad you see on the system. But if you can actually afford this software and use it, it's actually very good because it has a lot of features that that is enshrined within the software that can be helpful during real-time delivery when you need to deliver tasks and assignments for small, medium, or large industrial use. Okay, if you're in charge of developing such applications, then a good foundation and a good grasp of these kinds of IDEs will definitely help you to advance your career. Well, I'm going to be taking you through setting up Eclipse with PHP, and I need you to pay very close attention. The first thing you want to do is you head off to this website, this URL. You can just Google up this JDK download. Now, as at the time of this writing, we have JDK 8 with several updates on the official website for downloading Java SE. Now, there are two different types of Java. There is SE, the software environment, and then there's JDK. Now, the SE JDK is what you should go for, not the SE, because if you just install the software environment, it might not give you exactly what you want. So we're going to be asking, or we're going to go and get the JDK, software environment development kit. This is the official website. Now, when you get there, ensure you download. If your operating system is running 32-bit, then you go for the Windows x86. That's 32-bit. Then the x64 is basically for the Windows 64-bit, and the same thing goes for Linux and Mac OS, Solaris, and the likes. You really need to be very much aware of that, because if you do not download the appropriate bits, then you might be having issues when you want to configure Eclipse, because Eclipse will not run, it will just not run. So you can see here we have the SE development kit. Then we have here, we have the SE development kit with demos and samples, and then we have here the SE JDK with 8 updates 212. Then of course we also have, finally down here, we have the demos and the samples with JDK. So make your choice, but ensure that your bits, the bits you're downloading, is well aligned with your operating system. And the best way to know which operating system you are running is just right click on your computer if you're on Windows environment, and then just check the bits. This 32-bit always shows like this. This is 64-bit operating system. So definitely, if I'm going to download anything from this place, it has to be Windows x64. Okay, I would suggest you download this very one here that has 215.26 megabytes. At the moment you download it, you install. If you're going to install, that's another very important thing. You ensure you install in a place you can easily locate. Like here, this is installed in this directory, and if I'm adding these to the variables, the system variables, all I have to do is come to advanced system settings, ensure I put my password, if my password or if my system is passworded. Okay, so here we are. Now this is environment variables. You go there, then ensure that this part is declared. This is it. This is JDK 12 bin. Okay, so this is exactly where the Java software will call up the parts to execute programs relating to them. Of course, this space as well. If you click on edit, you're going to see it here. That's the appended location of Java. So all these things has to be there. You click OK, OK, ensure everything is in place. OK. All right. So with that, you now head over to the Eclipse URL for downloading the Eclipse software. Eclipse is free, it doesn't cost anything, and they have various IDEs that you can use for C++, for Java, for committers, Git committers, PHP developers. This is where we're going. This is exactly the one we want. Okay, then you have others here as well, which you can just explore for your own understanding. So we click on the download. The moment you click on the download, ensure you choose the right operating system that matches with the Java. This is, I cannot emphasize the importance of this. Okay, I think Eclipse has stopped rolling out 32-bit, so there's no 32-bit again. So if you're on Windows, you click this, you download, or if you're on Linux, you click Linux, you click this. Then the Mac Cocoa, that's the Mac, that's Mac OS Apple. It also has its own edition there. So from there, we can now begin to extract. This is the extracted file. This is the downloaded Eclipse. So you download and you extract to a very good case. Okay, so we go into the extracted file. We've extracted the Eclipse and we have the software ready to run. Now you simply go into the Eclipse extracted folder, which of course in my case is on the desktop for easy access. Now you make sure you go and click on the application. This is the application here. You double click, yes, and you wait for it to load. Now the purpose of this tutorial is to establish how you can set up your environment, integrated development environment with Xampp Web Server. Please, this is part of the Handsonlabs in PHP MariaDB or SQL. So, like I said previously, have your note beside you. Ensure you take notes. It's always very helpful because you might be in a situation that you might need to reinforce a knowledge, in a real-time situation. So you don't have to wait till then to take down notes. If you're going to be a very successful software engineer, you must learn to take notes. So then, let's wait for the Eclipse IDE to load. Then we're going to do some connection between the IDE and the web server. Okay, the version of the Eclipse we are loading now is the PHP version, the one that has inbuilt PHP environment. So we're just going to run a sample script to show us. Now, okay, now look at this. This shows a workspace. Normally, when you start Eclipse, it will display some kind of workspace where you need to store your project files, by default. Now, you can leave it in the default project space, the one created, but I would strongly suggest, especially if you're working with PHP, it's always advisable for you to link the workspace with the Xampp htdocs. I've already talked about htdocs in the previous section. So right now, what we're going to do is that we're just going to browse and locate where the Xampp is installed. Yeah. Then we select, and then we go to the htdocs, and then we select folder. This is it. This is where we're going. As you can see, this is Xampp htdocs. So you select the folder, and preferably just use this as default, and ensure that the compiler, the integrated development environment, does not ask you to do that each time you want to run the Eclipse compiler or IDE. So we click on launch and wait for the system to load the environment so we can test our web server and write a simple PHP script to ensure that this environment is fully functional for PHP web application development. Now, I want to believe that you've set up your Java. Your Java is in an environment. Your Xampp is in place. The Xampp that's Xampp web server. Yeah, this one. Ensure it is running. You've installed it and it is running. The ports are accurate. The normal ports from the factory production is 80 for Apache, 84443. This is just a by port, but this is the major port, the first one, 80 for Apache. These speeds are just variables that change from time to time. Now look at this MySQL. MySQL is always runs on 3306. I'm not going to be taking the connection of MySQL with Eclipse today, but in the nearest future, I will also be taking you guys through that tutorial, how you can establish connection between SQL and Eclipse. Okay, so let's minimize this and go to the main interface. Okay, this is it. This is, you see, it shows welcome to Eclipse IDE. You know what IDE is already. The IDE is Integrated Development Environment for PHP developers. Okay, so you might want to look through these tutorials, the samples, what's new, and blah blah blah. But we're not really going into that. We want to focus on our objective. We want to create a PHP project. So you simply click this. You can come here and start that, or you can as well come to the file, new, and then PHP project. It's still going to land you or to the same destination. Here we are. Okay, so you can create as well as here. In the future, this might not always show. This is just showing because it's the first time, the workbench. So always try to get used to starting the project from here. So let's quickly create a PHP project now. We'll call this first. Okay, just like we did in the previous video for the Linux environment. Okay, now take very cautious note of this. It says create a new project in workspace. Ensure this is selected. Now PHP version, you might decide to use some sort of PHP version experimental or maybe some others, but that's not what I would advise. I'll suggest you choose the default PHP settings, okay, the inbuilt settings. Now use project as source folder. Ensure this is selected. Now, optionally, you can put this, it doesn't really matter, but just for future purpose of developing JavaScript and files to work with the PHP script, you can just select that. So you can click, simply click finish, and you wait for the project to load on the left hand pane of Eclipse. Let's quickly minimize this and see the file. Okay, here we are. This is the first script, first project. Now it's empty. You can see the JavaScript resources for first. There's nothing there. The PHP language library, we're using 7.3. The core APIs are listed. You don't need to touch all this. These are just the libraries that keep the compiler running, script running. Now this is the include part. This is the real project. At the moment we don't have anything stored. It's just, you know, giving us an empty folder. So all we have to do is that we come here, we click on new, and we click on PHP file. Okay, now the folder is showing on the list here. This is the dialog showing the list of projects you have. The only project you have is first, and there is no file there. So we're going to just create a fresh script, and we'll call this first.php. So that's just about it. You click on finish, and the file is created within the space of the project. Okay, you can see that this is the first .php. Now the simplest, we're going to run a simple script here quickly. Let's close the tag. Now over here we'll just say echo. Like I said, echo is for output. Okay, you want to output something to the browser, place that. Now semicolon is always used in PHP to end the statement. So here we say this is my first PHP script. Okay, let's just space this. Then in the next line, let's just echo the PHP version, PHP info. Okay, and then we close that. So that's just about all we want to do. So the next thing we'll do now, you want to run this simple script and give see what it gives us in the browser. Right then, we come here. This is run as. This is actually used if you want to run programs. You can run as run on server. But because it's the first time, I'm pretty sure it's going to give us some forms to fill so that the compiler can recognize the kind of local host we have set up or we're trying to set up. Okay, so let's just run this. Okay, now you see that now it says select a way to run first.php, and it says run on server, PHP CLI, web application, unit tests. So our focus is on running on server. So we click on that and we say okay. Save changes to PHP, first.php, save, yes. Okay, Now, how do you want to run the server? The IDE is asking you a question, and you need to specifically instruct or program or set up the environment such that in every future occurrence, the IDE will recognize where to go, what server to pick, okay, to run PHP scripts. Now, over here, it's a run on server, select which server to use. How do you want to select the server? Now, this is frozen now because we don't have an existing server. This is a fresh installation, and this is a fresh environment. Okay, so we're going to manually define a new server and ensure you know there's a whole lot of options here. You have Apache IPM, OW2, Oracle, and a lot of them, Resin, Red Hat, DBoss. But our focus is on PHP. Okay, let's forget about the rest for now. So we say PHP built-in server. That's what you select, and ensure your local hosting is localhost, of course. Since we've linked our workspace to the htdocs, all right. So now we're looking at this. We just this is a variable name, but this has to be there. You can make this any name you like, but just you can leave the default names so you don't have to mess up things. Okay. So now you can also choose this alternatively, and then you click on next. Now, this is another very important aspect which you should really get right. PHP built-in server. It says specify the PHP executable. When you install a PHP the web server and you're trying to connect to Eclipse, the PHP compiler for Eclipse. Okay, if you want to link these two things together, you need to define and tell the IDE. You know, I'm using IDE and compiler interchangeably, so it's just the same thing. Compiler, IDE, integrated development environment. They're both the same thing. They help to compile programs for execution. So over here we have PHP executable. We have the name as PHP. That is, shouldn't touch that. Now go to the installed PHP. There's none here. There's no installed that the IDE recognizes. So you have to click on add. Okay. Now, the first thing you want to do is go to the executable path. And the executable path is simply where Xampp is installed. This is Xampp, this is C drive, this is Xampp. Then you go into, you select PHP. Okay. Then you select the executable. Okay, this is the PHP application now. So you have to select this. Ensure it's selected, then you click on open. Okay. You see, it has now populated the rest because the compiler immediately detects that the name of that executable is PHP 735 CLI, and the executable path is of course what we chose, and then the PHP init, it automatically brings it out and fills it as well. Okay, so you click on finish. We're done with installing the PHP web server. So you ensure you click apply and close. And then you also click on what? Finish. And you wait for the configuration to be done. Okay. If everything is okay, voila, okay. This is it. This is my first PHP script. I think I might have to just put F there instead of IRS. It is this F, first PHP script. Okay, so if we run that again, make sure you click on run on server. Okay, save changes to PHP, the first PHP you save. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so I want to demonstrate the next. Let me just give you one more example. Assuming you want to create a second script, let's say new, you go to new, a second application that demonstrates the stored file here, or the communication between the PHP compiler and the web server. Let's make another project and call this second. Okay, you create a new, leave the default, the same settings you're seeing on the screen, and show it's just the same. Then you click on finish. Right, if you observe the left pane, you see that the first is still the only one showing because we've not created a PHP script to run on the second project. So all we have to do is that we come here, we say new, and we come to PHP file. Yes. Now here it gives us a breakdown of all the projects. Okay. Now look at it. This is the first, and then this is the second. So all we have to do is we choose the second, and we'll give it the name of the PHP file. Let's say we call this second. Then you click on finish. Okay, so second is now showing on the screen on the left hand pane. This is the file. First has its own script, but second doesn't. So I'm just going to make a quick script here that says echo. Okay, ensure you always put your semicolon to end the statement. This is my second PHP script. All right, then let's also echo the phpinfo. phpinfo. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Then here. So we quickly go and say run. Let's run the program, this second script, see what it does. You click on this and sure you click on run on server. Okay, and you save. Now you use the existing server. Look at this now. In case, just to save us the stress of doing this all the time, you can just check this, always use this server when running this project. Yeah, so that it will not have to bring this up. You know, previously the first time this was frozen because we had not created any server, but now it's showing it because we have an existing server and you don't need to manually create a new server again. So we use this same server, which of course you see the state here is started, it's running. Then you click on finish. Okay, so this is it. Now this is the script, the first line that shows this is echo, this is my PHP script, and then the second, which is the PHP info, that shows the variable configuration of PHP. You can see that all the way down. You know, you can see that from start to finish, all the configuration of the PHP in it. Now look at this. This number you're seeing here shows a dynamic port being used by Eclipse. You know, it's not the same like what you run, you know, on the browser, normal browser. This is integrated. This is an integrated environment. So localhost or Xampp is working internally under the Eclipse environment. This Eclipse here, yeah, that's exactly what is going on. This Eclipse here, PHP IDE for developers. That's it. So this number is dynamic and it changes. The compiler recognizes the PHP in the Xampp and takes the variables there for itself, for its own internal use. Yes, assuming we're going to run this script as a fully functional, independent web application. Okay, not as a script or compiled program being handled by the internal intricacies of Eclipse IDE. This is how we're going to do and go about it. We come to this place, this button here. Okay, this one that highlights run as, because there are two. You need to be very careful when you're clicking on these buttons. They have various buttons for various purposes. Like this one is for debugging, this one is for running programs that you've compiled. So we come here, the big one, the big pointer arrow with the green roundish sign or symbol object. So you run as web application. We've seen it run on server, and we know that the server, the internal server of Eclipse, is handling the execution. But now let us make this application run independently without the interference of Eclipse IDE. So we come here and click web application. Okay, you see that now? This takes us almost similar to the script. In fact, it's exactly the same script you run when running internally. Okay, the only difference is that this doesn't have the number, that numeral in between that runs. Okay, let's see. Let's say you want to run this now. You want to run this as let's see, run as on server. Okay, look at this now. This is the numeral that I was talking about here. This 8633, the number that comes before the web application directory itself. Over here now, when we're running as a web application, we're seeing something very, very different. This can run directly on a browser with Xampp running, because the Xampp is running on the script, it's running on the background. So you can actually take the script, you can take this particular URL and run on a normal browser, but you cannot take this and run a normal browser, because this particular string, URL string, belongs to the Eclipse integrated development environment. I believe you understand. You've been able to understand the difference between an internally controlled server and an externally controlled server. Still on the local machine, the two operations are going on the local machine. So I want you to go over this over and over again and ensure that you are very well fundamentally established concerning setting up your environment. Okay, so this very section, I want to focus on the Notepad. Notepad is one of the IDEs that we have out there that costs next to nothing. All you have to do is go to the URL. This is the URL, and you go there and enter this download section. The download section is just by the left pane. Okay, so here we have the 32 bits, as you can see on the screen, and then if you scroll down, you're going to see the 64 bits. I'll recommend the 64 bit. Just make sure you check your operating system, especially if you're on Windows. Ensure that you have the right bits to download. Okay, so if you download, it's a very lightweight compiler IDE, and it's open source. So you just click on download, and then you simply download to your computer for use. Okay, so let's try now to connect Notepad to Xampp. You already know what Xampp is, and I believe you've already set that up on your computer, so we don't need to go over that again. All we have to do now is to install the Notepad++. Okay, so this is the selection, the English. You can select the language that you best understand. So you click OK. This is the welcome screen. You agree to the terms, and then the location, in case you want to locate elsewhere, you can just redirect, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just leaving it on the default directory. So these are the other options that comes along with the Notepad factory default. You can also check this localization if you wish to have that as part of your plugins. Okay, so let's just click next, and then now it creates a desktop on it, or shortcut. Yes, of course. Now for this one, it says you should not use the app data. Enable this option to make Notepad write configuration files to install directory. Check if Notepad is in a USB device. You don't need to check this, just leave it like this as it is, and you click on install. Okay, so let's run the Notepad and see how the software is. Now this is the interface. This is just it says Notepad version 7.7.1 enhancements and bug fixes. Okay, now you have here the file, and then you have the edit and the other options which you can get used to, you know, at your convenience. Now there are shortcuts here that you can use to create new documents. Okay, you can open existing document and you can save the current document. Now let's click on the new document. You can just as well give a simple, very simple PHP code here, just like we've had from the introduction. Let's just try and type in a code here and save to run on the browser. Okay, so let's try this. It says echo echo welcome to Notepad plus. Okay, we ended that there with a semicolon. Then of course let's also echo our usual PHP info function, PHP info function. Okay, so that's just about that. Now once you're done, ensure you save, and when you're saving, you can't just save anywhere. You need to locate where the Xampp is installed. Yes, and the htdocs. Yeah, we already have first here, so we can put this, or we can just save it directly, give it a name on the system. Let's call this Notepad plus. Okay, .php. Okay, this must be dot. Ensure there is no typographical error, so we save in that location. Now we have to ensure that Xampp is running. Okay, yeah, we've now started Xampp at highly privileged mode. Now if you look at the script, you see it's highlighted in PHP. The color code, the helpful color code helps to give you lines and give you the boundaries of the code that you're writing, and this is very, very helpful in writing PHP. Now let's start our server, our Apache, and then of course correspondingly we have to start MySQL as well. Okay, so with that done, now take note of the name. It says Notepad plus.php. So let's go to the browser and try to run that from the local host. See the local host /notepad plus.php. Okay, you see that now. So we have the script running, and we've achieved it by just downloading a simple, very flexible, lightweight compiler. So go ahead and try out something, and if you have questions, you can leave a comment below, or you can get in touch with me through the mobile app of Handsonlabs Software Academy. Yes, so so far so good. We have been able to achieve the following, namely our introduction to software applications, natives and web apps. We've also been able to set up our environment and get to know about setting up Xampp under Windows and Linux environments.
We talked about web servers, and we also talked about the Dreamweaver installation and other IDEs like Eclipse and of course Notepad. Yes, then we also defined a web application. From the htdocs, we linked it up to a web server and we ran our first program. We also had an introduction into PHP.HTML Syntax and of course PHP tags. So next time we're going to be talking about strings, variables, constants, output statements, delimiters. We've already talked about phpinfo function, but we'll be looking more at embedding PHP in HTML and of course tables and forms. So till next time, please subscribe and don't forget to leave your comments, and I'll see you next time.